Good morning, everyone. I'm Gaganjeet Singh from WAF, and I welcome you all to today's webinar, College to Tech Giants, A Journey After Graduation. It's organized by Alumni Association of IIT Mandi in partner with WAF. I would like to welcome our three speakers, I'll say guest speakers from the Alumni Association. They all three of them are from class of 2014. So we have Mr. Himanshu Devan. He's from class of 2014 BTech Computer Science. After graduation, he started his journey as full stack developer at NovoPay before he went for his master's at Georgia Institute of Technology, right? And he's presently working as software engineer at Google. Our second speaker is Mr. Moez Ahmed. He's also from class of 2014. He's from different stream. He's from BTech Mechanical. And Moise completed his master's from University of Florida, worked with Google and Apple as software engineering test, and he's presently working as software development engineer in test at Amazon. Our third guest speaker is Mr. Anand Dandania. He's also from class of 2014 electrical batch. Anand is working as software development manager for Amazon, and from like right away from July 2014, during his tenure, he worked with Amazon Payments, and he's currently working with AWS Computer Vision organization. He's leading the engineering efforts of TechStract. Right. So before we move on to session, I would like to invite Dr. Varun Dutt for the welcome address. Varun sir, so you're on mute. So right.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the warm welcome, Gagan, and thank you for all the participants and attendees joining today. And thank you to our esteemed speakers who are joining today, Himanshu, Anand, and Moise. I happen to be fortunate to be able to have them in my classroom as well. This was a wonderful time between years 2010 and 2014. I remember that I joined the institute in 2012, but the 2 years I was able to see them, and I fondly remember them. So first is that this is the first of its kind initiative which we are taking, here we are requesting our esteemed alumni to actually connect with the Alma Mater, the institute where they spend significant amount of time, and also it's an opportunity to get together and probably remember times when our alumni were at the institute. One other interesting thing about this meeting is that the alumni have already been away from the institute for a significant amount of time. So it's also an opportunity for students and for the participants and attendees to learn from the experience of the alumni, because particularly when the alumni today who are in the call were on campus, we were not fortunate to have a surrounding like this in the back. Well, the views were great, but there were other kinds of hardships and there were challenges. We used to be in Mandi town, and there were a large number of logistic challenges. So I hope that those hardship days or those challenges have contributed significantly or shaped the experience of the alumni, and probably led them to bet higher successes given the hardship they faced early on. So this is so I would say this is an opportunity for our students, for our colleagues in this call to learn from the experience, and at the same time, well, of course, everyone has their own way of moving ahead in their careers, and everyone has some aspirations. Their families have aspirations. So it's always good to hear about stories which may be one which you may follow in the future. And everyone has his own or her own story to tell, and all stories are very interesting and they have a message in them. So I would not take more time. I'll let the esteemed speakers today speak, They are connecting with us from the US. It's past 9 p.m. for them, and I'm thankful for them to be able to spare some time and connect today in this event. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Varun sir. Let's start our session today. So, we'll start with knowing about your journeys. I'll request everyone of you to share your journey for like 5 or 7 minutes. Like, how was that after passing out from 2014? How you build yourself? How is it to be to be a part of Tech Giant? What all skills you actually worked on? Because that is what is required for a student right now, right? So we'll start with Anand, right? So he's senior development, software development manager at Amazon. So Anand, how was your journey? Like, how was it like after passing out from IIT Mandi?
Yeah, Gagan, for me, I mean, let me quickly give an introduction. So I luckily, thanks to our career and placement cell at IIT Mandi, I got a placement with Amazon and joined in 2014 July, Amazon India payments organization. And then there, I joined as a software development engineer and worked for building software that stores secure customer data and confidential credit card information, and learned a lot of things about how the tech giants or like the big companies invest in securing and building like encrypted systems. While at IIT Mandi, I also had like a brief stint with multiple courses on machine learning and AI. Like took courses on pattern recognition, AI, speech technology, and I was always interested in pursuing my career in that domain. So I was looking at opportunities, be in the academia or within Amazon and even outside Amazon for some of the opportunities that I can pursue in that area. And I found that Amazon was building the next set of artificially intelligent systems that can do bunch of things like recognize faces, labels like mountains, cats, dogs, and document analysis, all those things. And the project was starting in US. So I applied for it in 2016 January, 18 months after joining Amazon. And then I moved to US. After moving to US, I worked on AI ML technology, learned a lot from a lot of big people. Luckily, one of the things I think we can probably discuss later as well, like working for tech giants, you do get to interact with a lot of the renowned people. Like Alex Mola is one of the renowned person who works for Amazon, and he has written some of the big AI ML frameworks himself. So it was very easy for me to interact and learn from them. And last 3.5 years, I saw this organization grow from probably like 5-10 people to a 200 people organization that we have right now. And then I wanted to like pursue more on like the people management side and see how I can like from the things that I have learned, I can help build the organization even bigger. So I transitioned into a software development manager role last year in October, and have been managing TechStrack, which is like a computer vision based document analysis system. So what that system does is like, I mean, if you have like a photograph of a document or something lying on your table, then you can just take a photograph and then send it to the system, and it will give you the information that is available in the documents. So this has been my journey. I've stayed with Amazon, learned a lot of things, like learned the entire software life cycle, how it grows, and then a bunch of different things that you see in a growing organization. So those are the things I can probably talk about a little more in this webinar.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Anand. Let's move to Moise. So Moise, how was your journey? Like, what was it for you? Because we have seen that you went to University of Florida, right, for your masters. So just we are keen to know about your journey, how you landed up in Amazon.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Moise. Yeah, like I did my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, and yeah, transitioning to a role in software development and test like was a journey by itself, I would say. Like first, like after graduation, like I know as a mechanical engineer, like it's really hard to get a job in mechanical engineer right after you graduate. Like that's the truth of it. And so I was fortunate enough to get a job in India at an automotive component manufacturing company called Mindarica. Yeah, I am really thankful to them for that, for giving me to the opportunity for a fresh graduate to take me in. And I worked for them for from 2014 to 2016 for about 2 years in Gurgaon. And yeah, that was a really fun experience. It taught me a lot about like what really goes on in mechanical engineering once you graduate, like the what's like what's the like what happens when you actually become a professional in the field, when you go and like have to go in the factories and sometimes have to like design stuff. And after that I pursued my master's in mechanical engineering at University of Florida. And yeah, that was a great experience as well. Like Florida in itself is an amazing place, and on top of that the university and the program itself was really good. Like they were they let me expand my wings. Like I was as long as like uh, uh, like along with my courses I was also learning to program over there. Like in fact I did start a little coding in bachelor's, but then I really picked it up like while doing my master's. I was again fortunate enough to find a really nice professor like who was willing to accept my idea of creating structural engineering software on a website, like which is really unheard of for a mechanical engineer to actually code, and that too like front end development for like structural analysis like on a website or using React and everything. So yeah, so I like that's how I dipped my feet into coding, and slowly like in those 2 years I learned a lot. And I after that I landed a job at Google as a like on contract basis. And yeah, and I felt that like networking was is really important when you're doing like masters, and that too like if you're not in computer science, and if you are coming from either field, you need to put yourself out there. And then again I worked about a year or less than a year at Google, and then I moved on to Apple, like in Apple Maps, uh, and there I worked for a year again. Yeah, like a little less than a year, and then I I then again I was fortunate enough to uh, like uh, uh, fortunate enough to be contacted by an Amazon recruiter to find another a really interesting opportunity like in Alexa. And I really found like this an interesting like as an SDET, like if you want to test an Alexa device, like I found that really challenging. And I found it like something that would like step up my game as an engineer. So I moved on to Amazon, and I'm currently at Alexa as an SDET, where I develop frameworks for testing like Alexa devices, and like so that the developers and everyone can like use our frameworks to like help build better Alexa devices. Yeah, so it's been a really interesting journey, and yeah, it's been fun.
Right. Thanks. Thank you so much, Moise. It's like because there was a question from a student like how did you land up like into software development engineer, like you started from mechanical and all. I was going through your profile on LinkedIn. You have a premium account, right? So you could see it. So I was trying to figure it out like what where that gap went actually between 2014 and 2016, where it all went actually. I wasn't able to find out, but thanks for sharing that. Right. Let's move to Himanshu now. Himanshu, how was your journey?
Hi, I'm Himanshu. I'm currently working for Google, and I'm working on the Nest hardware org. my primary role for the past 3.5 years, which has been like ever since I joined Google, has been as an engineer who works on engineering productivity. So it's like metadata, if you might, call it. So after graduation, I went to NovoPay and I worked there for a year. While one thing to give a little context, I was not the most enthusiastic individual or the most keen student of computer science in undergrad. Anand was the smarter one, you know. I was I felt like and I have no regrets about it. I felt like I was more focused on doing everything, but wasn't probably as focused as I should have been, or on on computer sciences for that matter. I could do enough, but just barely enough, and that's something that which is why I decided to take up a job as a software engineer, for full stack engineer. I had no plans to pursue a master. 1 year at Khosla Labs was kind of enough to. I was I was largely unsatisfied by the work culture there and just the pace of my learning. I had no real share of, I couldn't provide any inputs, and I didn't really have much of a responsibility that I was proud of. That led me to look at avenues for masters. Coincidentally, Varun Dutt sir was one of the professors who provided me a letter of recommendation, something I'm always and perennially will be grateful for. And I got an admit to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech was probably a turning point in terms of the way I approached problem solving in software engineering, or information technology, whatever you may call it in general. There were a lot of gaps in my knowledge. There was a lack of work ethic, all of which I had to face and improve upon. So at Georgia Tech, I had my first brush actually, with machine learning and all. I kind of avoided all those courses, pattern recognition, machine learning, while I was at Mandi. I took up all those. I kind of worked a little more diligently than I did at Mandi, and I was able to. I was, I would say, lucky to get an internship at Google. As an intern, I worked at what used to be called Google Enterprises and is now called Google Cloud. As an intern, it was an eye opener as well as like a jarring experience, because I'd never worked at an organization of this scale, and and the people who were there with me, the fellow interns, were like some of the smartest people I had ever worked with. And I was constantly bogged down by this imposter syndrome, which I still have, of if I truly did, deserve to be here. Fortunately, I was able to get through that internship. Free food helped, and they helped me, they made me a return offer. And when I, taking them up on that, I decided to join the hardware org, which was actually called Nest back then, because I was not sure if I wanted to actually work within the big organization that was Google. So when I joined Nest, the advantage, as I saw it, was that I got all the perks of Google. At the same time, I got to work in a slightly more focused startup-like environment. I believe a year and a half back, Nest was rolled into Google officially. So looks like it was, life came a full circle for me. I was avoiding Google, but I had to start working for them. And ever since then, I've been working in the hardware org. I was the youngest member. I'm still the youngest and the most inexperienced member in my team. That has worked to my advantage as well as my disadvantage. I can make mistakes and not be, yelled at. They never yell at you, just letting you know. And I can also, volunteer to take up things that others find easy. So I get to learn. And yeah, basically it's been I feel lucky to have come where I am. I never thought, if 4 years back, last year of final year of my graduation, somebody had told me you would be working where I am, or living where I am, I would have probably scoffed at them, or been like, yeah. So yeah.
Right, great. So let's pick up some questions which student asked. So during registration, we were taking these questions from students, and let's go back to your engineering days at Mandi. So with this alumni association coming up, alumni thing culture coming up in India. I remember like in 2011, 2012, you know what engineering is, right? A lot of projects. We used to think like how our seniors used to cope up with the grades, CGPA, placements coming in, going out. Would like to ask like three of you, how was your like experience when you were there in IIT Mandi? Because there's a student like Naman Tayal. He's asking like, tell about your efforts during your college days, from CGPA to competitive coding to projects. How was your interview experience? He wants to know what all you did so that he can also cope up with this engineering days at IIT Mandi now. So, we can start with any one of you, right? Anand, would you like to take this question first?
So, yeah, I can take this one. For me, it was a bit challenging situation because I was part of electrical engineering, and while doing my electrical engineering, I got really interested into robotics, and I started taking some of the I became part of the robotics club at IIT Mandi, and then when I started doing the projects, more than building the circuit designs and chips, I enjoyed more writing the code for the robotics section. So. I went back to our director at that point and asked him if I can switch the streams and go to computer science. And it was like, I think after third semester. So you can only do it until the end of second semester. So I realized that that is that's my fate and it's locked. So I think our college, specifically university, it's really good at providing you the opportunity to go beyond your stream and to take courses across like it was such a flexible curriculum, and I think that was the best part. I think for me, so I was able to take a lot of courses from computer science, a lot of elective courses in the curriculum. So I could work on, like I mentioned, pattern recognition, all those things. Now coming like the internship and placement session, for me, it was a bit challenging because a lot of the companies have this perspective from different colleges that like if Google or Microsoft or Amazon are coming, that they will be coming for computer science. So the only option for me was to apply outside campus. So I started doing a lot of competitive programming, and I think competitive programming is really a good thing to sharpen your coding skills. So it's definitely worth doing. And luckily for me, Amazon decided to take like interviews for electrical engineering people as well, and that's how I got my job. So on the competitive programming, I think it's a really good tool for everybody in the computer science stream. Now coming to the question of grades, I think my learning being in the industries, grades are important, but grades are not very important. So the grades are important because I think they are a question of how you learn things, how much you understand from the courses, and it all the things that we learned at IIT Mandi, I think they they were really important, and they like the more you learn actually how to learn. So that was the key thing there. So I think those are important, but they're not as important that we when we are going into the classroom to write our test, we are reading 15 minutes before the examination. I don't think we can. I can ever remember the things I learned right before going into the exam. So probably learning things in a way that you know that even if you understood like 50 or 50% of the course, but you will remember it for a longer period. I would say that is more beneficial. And I tried that for some of the courses. Some of the courses did not work out. But yeah, that was my experience.
Right.
I don't know if I
So,
answered the question properly.
Yes, yes, very much. Like students will be happy because we have Moise also now. I remember like Moise mentioned that it's very tough for mechanical guys to cope up, right? When it comes to taking placements and looking for opportunities. How were you preparing during your engineering days?
Uh, yeah, uh,
Yeah, Moise, go ahead.
yeah,
Yeah,
like in the, uh, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, like in
yeah,
engineering, yeah, like all you can do is like prepare. That's all I feel. Like, whether getting a job, like you can try for it, and yeah, and then like as a mechanical engineer, and if you want to like go into a mechanical engineering company or any other company per se, like I just have to like keep applying, and I think like it just takes like one company to like if you just like set your foot in some company, and then yeah, and slowly like learn things from there and keep on learning, then yeah, that's good. Like that was like my approach to it. Yeah, so yeah, that's what I would
and
feel.
like normally students care a lot about projects and all, right? So I would just want to ask one thing. Like the things are changing, very drastically. Like things in 2014 were different. Things in 2020 with changing a lot, and because of this COVID, the things are changing. It's like people are just jumping towards technology and all. uh, just want you to ask, like, if today a student is preparing a project also, what do you guide them? Should they be preparing project only just because they have asked to, or whether these projects actually work a lot when you take these projects, in interviews, or you do you really think that these projects can help you out in your career development? Like, Himanshu, what is your take on this? Because from computer science to you're still into, you're software engineering Google now. So what about projects and all? What is your take on this?
Um, my take is that see, obviously there is a lot of this is something that when we look back tend to have a bias, about things always seemed rosier, I guess, but I'll practically speaking, there are a lot of courses one is taking when one is in their undergrad, and it's not unreasonable expectation that if a student cuts a corner. However, if I were to do it all over again, I believe projects offer a great chance for you to just learn whatever you want and do things that may not fit in the structure of a course. When you're studying or taking a course, there are certain things that the instructor or the teacher or the professor is, prescribed to teach you. I think projects are are that place where you really can take things that you may be learning or just do something that is probably not a part of the curriculum, however obviously fits the brief. And we tend to this is something that I feel was impressed upon me when I went to Georgia Tech. At Georgia Tech, the first instinct that you have is that you would probably end up plagiarizing stuff. You tend to try and cut corners, do stuff just to get a grade. And this is in reference to what you said, just CGPA matter. I think here it is of even less significance than it was in India. And that's why when you are surrounded by people who are actually working because they're passionate towards a project, not because they're working for a grade, it just elevates the kind of commitment that you put in something. So my advice would be for the professors, please have more projects, but at the same students are not overburdened. And for students, just take out the time, and it's okay to fail in a project or like not be able to deliver what you promised. But what will count is how much effort you put in to achieve the goal.
I would like to add a little bit to this question as well. I think Himanshu was answering this question, I was also thinking about it. One key aspect that I feel after joining Amazon is more than the technical skills that I acquired. I s- the most important part is how you interact with the people around you. And I think one of the things that projects teach you is like to be able to work in the groups. Like join any organization or start your own company when you graduate. I think the key part that would come back is how you are with the people around you. And uh, now I know that when we were in our courses, it's not the right balance sometimes in the groups. Like some of the people are doing most of the work, and but I think that is a very good opportunity to see, like, because everybody has their own opinions, and then to be able to collaborate and talk about those opinions. And I mean, there can be some very differing opinions, and there can be a project where you work with some of the very opinionated people in the same group too. So to be able to handle that, it builds a lot of character for the success.
Right. So like we'll take your thing only into account because there's Weber who is asking, can we talk about the skills that students should be developing during this time? So obviously, like this is something which I was sharing. Like things have changed now. People look more towards skills. So what all skills you should you think that is actually will give a value to a student? It will put value in their resumes if you say like what all courses they should pick, what all skills they should develop, right? So Moise, what is your take on this? Like if today somebody wants to join Amazon, so what do you think? Why is Amazon will recruit a student from IIT Mandi? What skills he should be focusing on?
Uh, like uh, like as a basic skill, like you should meet all the qualifications like any other graduate has, like you have like a good coding skills and everything. But apart from that, like I think the most important skill is that like you should show that you should be like open to like learn new things. So like as you build your career here at Amazon or like any other company, like it matters, like you won't be like working on the same project like forever, like or for years. Like you'll be picking up new projects, and in some projects you'll be like seeing like totally new things that you might not even have heard of. So you should be like open to like learning new things, and also like not be afraid of like asking people like, okay, I don't know this, like can you like help me out in this? And also like reach out to people, and also be open to like say that, okay, I don't know this, but I would like to learn this. Like yeah, I think that would be like on top of that, like having uh, 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 like a good CG. I think it also like matters, but it's not like the most important thing. And like it's like I think like every company has a minimum set of requirements, but a lot of like students meet those requirements. So how you differentiate, like I feel like from others, like is that like you should show like you're like open to learn new stuff and like be able to show that. That's how I feel.
Right. So, like Himanshu, one is like we have heard from Anand and Moise that okay, like in addition to what you are learning through the courses is one part, you should be more interactive and also it's like towards the soft skills. If I technical skills, so what all areas they should be building their profiles, to strengthen their profile basically. So where you think that the technical skills they can actually improve?
Um, it actually is pretty standard, and it is standard for all the companies. For an entry level graduate, it basically boils down in terms of technical skills at how good you are at problem solving, data structures, and algorithms.
Right.
I wish there was some other way I could put it. I could tell you that, hey, do a lot of, be a part of LitSoc or Drama Society and it'll help you, but it does not. It does help you in other ways that, as Anand mentioned, but purely from the perspective of, say, an interview at Google, and I believe I can speak for Amazon or Facebook, you first need to have a good foundation of core computer science concepts, data structures, algorithms. I feel this is something that, I never did. at Mandi, and I don't think there was a culture back then for students to do that. But there should be more emphasis on whiteboard, whiteboarding and like problem solving. I hope students take more towards take to pair programming, and just like having mock interviews in general, because when I'm taking an interview, for example, for entry level graduate, we also are noticing or observing as to how good your communication skills are. You may be able to solve a problem, but can you really explain what you just did? And can you? And then a lot of students do not like writing tests. So for an entry level graduate, that matters. They tend to see whenever you write, a solution. I know I'm being very specific right now, but we do expect you to tell us the runtime complexity, the space complexity, and the tests associated with that. So those are some things that I wish we had known, and we had prepared better.
Right, right. So Sunil is asking whether CGPA makes more matter in higher studies and during placements. How to overcome from this? So he's asking if you have a low CGPA, right? Low CGPA range, and you're going for a recruitment process of somebody's coming for placements. Does it really matter actually during that? Sometimes the companies come with a criteria like below this CGPA is not allowed, or obviously they'll see you with a different angle. So what is your take on this? If somebody is having a low grades, how you will tell them to make their profile strength?
I think I'm sorry. I'll just
Yes, yeah, please go ahead.
others please chime in. Okay, Anand was. So my take on this is it's like those you often read those news articles. A certain student got a crore package and all those things. We tend to start comparing our success in terms of the money we are earning, at least right out of college. What people don't often discuss and what often does not get reported is that that's not the end of the world. For example, I know hundreds of students in our batch, and we probably had 100, who transitioned, who did not get the most ideal job that they wanted right out of college. Within 6 months and a year, they were all like, they were able to go and get where they wanted to. So in terms of India, placement, CGPA does matter, unfortunately. And in terms of when you're doing your masters, it does not matter as much, but say the CGPA there is out of 4. If you have a CGPA of 3.2, then there will be a question or two from recruiters as to why but if it's say anything between 3.5 to 4, they don't really care.
So Anand, what is your take on this? Like if because the Sunil student is asking about the low grades.
I think Himanshu summarized it pretty well. Even because I joined Amazon right after the campus placement, so I don't think that I have looked at my grade sheet after 2014. But during the campus placement, I think we need to make sure that we understand. And I think by now, we students would have already seen a lot of batches, a lot of campus placements, so they know that what is the lowest thing, like maybe 6.5 or 7. I find like 7.5 and above as a very good sweet spot for CGPA, but it can vary. I don't like what is the standard. And for me personally, I think the courses that I liked, I generally used to, if I aggregate all the courses that I personally liked, I think my CGPA will be somewhere around 8.5. And the courses I did not have much interest in, my CGPA will be around 7.5. So at the end of the day, I think that's the right balance. Choose and in your third and fourth year, you definitely get options of picking up a lot of electives that you are more interested in. So you can pick up the things that you are more interested in, and then get your CGPA up as well. So, but yeah, I mean, as long as you can sit in the campus placement, I think after that, probably the interviewer will not ask you for your CGPA in the tech giants, but it can vary across companies. So better to be on the safer side and keep it up.
Right. So there was a question from Sagar during the registration. So can you please share the pros and cons of joining industry or doing MBA or giving any other exam? So like we have like you are there with Amazon, right? Right after 2014, you can actually talk about what are the pros and cons of being with single organization, right? And Moise and Himanshu can take up this question, like what are the pros of cons of doing masters after your BTech and then choosing an organization. You can also cover that thing, whether you really need an experience before you go for masters in US, right? So I think we'll start with Anand. You can just talk about like what are the pros and cons of sticking to a single industry when you're joining it.
Right. I think the advantage that I see is like when you are working closer to a domain. Like I have been with Amazon AI for close to 4.5 years now, and working on like AI is a new technology. It's a greenfield technology, so I was able to understand it better, and then you build build some long term relations as well. So like the director and vice president of my organization, I'm able to I like I have built relations with them. So it's like there's a leadership principle in Amazon called earn trust. So it's like the more you work together with a group of people, you're building more trust with them, and then it's easier. Like I mean, you will see, like I mean, you work together with a group, and then you have work implement a lot of things and work together. So there is that emotional thing that also comes into picture, and together as a group, I think that now we are able to build a really good consensus in a very small amount of time. And also the other thing, I mean, definitely Moise and Himanshu will cover that a little bit more, but I think there is no standard answer to what is the right thing. In fact, I see that in our group, like there are people who come from different places and have done different things. Like somebody has an MBA, somebody did a master's in electronics, and somebody did a master's in psychology. So we have people from completely different domain, and that actually helps us come to like take different perspectives. Like if you go through these different streams, your mindset will think about that differently, and that is what is more important when you are building something for the customers.
So Himanshu, what is your take on this question? Like if you're after your like graduation, so how masters actually strengthen your profile, whether it is really important, what are the pros and what are the cons?
Um, so there are a couple of like there are a few aspects to this. First thing that for me personally, masters was a way to fill the gaps, or at least reduce the gaps that I had in my technical knowledge. Uh, and secondly, it provides you an avenue to, essentially, I get go to the job market here, right? I mean, then the second aspect that, as I was trying to say, is the immigration aspect. Um, and I think this is even more important in the current scenario with the whole immigration, the whole visa scene being so uncertain. So uh, as a master student, you get to, if you are in science, technology, engineering, management, the STEM fields, you get to an additional couple of years to work after you have graduated without being on a work visa. And that was something that I feel like as a master student, it's a very big deal, because you may not always be able to find an employer who can sponsor your H-1B visa, which is a very expensive visa. And then the second aspect of this, the third aspect of this scenario is that um, in India, there are like only I believe the multinationals like Amazon, Facebook, and Google who can sponsor your direct visas to L1 within a year or two. And the other route is obviously to go through some consulting companies such as Cognizant, Infosys, TCS, which can be uncertain. So there is this whole aspect to the immigration aspect to this, and then the fact that, but at the same time, masters is expensive. right? Paying for tuition and all, and boarding and lodging is expensive here. So there are all those pros and cons with respect to masters. But one thing is for sure, that a lot of times we come with the same attitude that we had during placements. When we come for masters, for us masters is just an avenue to find a high paying job in US. I think that is detrimental to the whole idea of masters. So if you're not taking risk, you're not really learning, you're just here for the paycheck at the end, it might not be the best thing for you. So make sure if you're doing a master's in science, you really want to do it.
Right. So, Moez, actually, there was a question from Ayush when he was talking about career growth. So, Anand took care of one perspective where he was taking to one company from right away from 2014. Himanshu did his masters and he's there with Google for that time. But in your case, if you'll see that you have done your masters and then you're into third organization right now, right? Google, Apple, and it. So, what do you think? What is like in your case? How is this career progression and how it will actually? Because students will actually ask you like which career path we should choose, whether sticking to a single organization, trying out different organizations. So still, because you have experienced this, what is your take on this?
Yeah, like uh, like I would say like there's actually like no right answer. Like people like you can see like a lot of uh, di- different people who stick to the same organization or like people who change it. Like there is no like right path to like take any path. Like I feel like it's not like it might not be a monetary reason that one person like shifts from one company to other. There might be a lot of other reasons. Like maybe like you have been working for a company like for a year and you have been like doing the same thing again and again, and you feel like you don't see any growth in it. So maybe you want to shift, or maybe you see that a company is not sponsoring your visa, and you think that
Right.
yeah, you might want to look for a more stable company which has a higher visa success rate. So that might be another reason. And also another reason might be like you find a really interesting opportunity that like a new team is starting up. Like that's how like I found an opportunity like here in Amazon. Like it's a new team that's like they are starting to build it, and you see that okay, it's a new field where you can like really start from scratch again and be a part of something which is totally new. So there might be a lot of reasons why you move from one company to other. So and you also have to take all these into consideration, like while like as you like build your career or like move forward like in your career, I would say. So yeah, so I would say like there is no right path. Like go with what you feel like at that point of time, which like which will help you in your career or which you think like it's good for you. I think there is no one path to it, like to stick to a company or take multiple companies as such. Or anyone else can chime in as well, like if they have
Right.
another opinion.
Right. So there was a question from Sunil. It seems Anand has already answered it. Which is the good programming language to begin? I'm feeling difficult in coding like HackerRank platform. So how to improve coding skills? Any suggestions on this? So even though you have answered like with the text, I'll just tell you to just inform because many will not be looking at this. So that is right.
I think the question there was which programming languages, and I just answered that part. I personally like C++ and Python, but I don't want to go into that conversation. Everybody has their own choices, and we generally get into a very heated debate when we talk about these things in our, in at least in my team, because everybody likes different language. Uh, so answering the other part of it, which is how to learn like coding and skills. I i think for coding, probably, I mean, the web is the best thing. And then I remember that book Corman. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I think uh, for CS fundamentals there is no better book than Corman right now. So you should go through the book for specifically for learning the CS fundamentals, and write down those key algorithms that are there. I think probably every coding interview right now still, I mean, I when I take interviews, we use those like standard questions, but tweak them in a way that a person can think about a problem and then bring it down to how to solve them through CS fundamental. Uh, Apart from that, like Spodge, CodeChef, uh, HackerRank, there are a bunch of other websites where you can go and improve your coding skills. So I think those are good. And on the specialized thing, I think I saw a question there on like machine learning and bunch of other things, how you can learn about those. So I think all the machine learning I learned in my undergrad was from taking courses on pattern recognition and AI/ML that were provided, and then I took a BTech project. I think BTech project is also a really good place to uh, probably pick up one thing that you are most interested in at that point and go really deep into that, and like do a lot of experimentation, read about things. So yeah, that's probably my answer. But
Right.
there are so many ways to learn things.
Just I wanted to make a comment, Anand. The Corman book is also 1,200 page long, so it's good if students read that. I really appreciate it. Because one of the things I find challenging these days is that don't want to read anymore. They want to watch the things. Thank you for bringing this up. Thank you.
Yeah, I have gone back and forth, and I think now I'm back to reading on the books again. It feels good. I mean, I don't know, like the smell of the book and then being able to read through the book should definitely go back to the old days, good old days.
So we'll pick up this last question from Prafula, and then we'll move on to question by Dr. Varun. That it's an important question he posted during the registration. So this last question is from Prafula. So companies nowadays expect future skills like machine learning, IoT, deep learning, AI, robotics, Python, etc. from a fresher, and demand for these skills is going to increase in upcoming year for sure. In such case, what does a mechanical student do to be okay? So this question is
Gagan,
from
I'm not able
Moise.
to get your voice. I'm not sure
Uh,
whether others can hear you.
like
I'm not getting your sound.
I hope I'm audible.
Okay, sir.
Anand,
I
Imanshu,
maybe I'll
Moise.
disconnect and connect
Yeah,
again. Can't hear
I
you.
can hear you.
Okay, right. So if you can just check on your side. Right. So this question. Oh, I'm so sorry. Like it went in between. So it seems this question is from Moise because the question is in such case, what does a mechanical student do to be ready for upcoming scenarios? Because they're in capitals. Like if these skills are not from his domain, please guide us in this case.
Yeah, like I would say, like if you want to like find a job or pursue a career in like machine learning, then you should definitely learn it. Like read more about it and learn it. Maybe take a course or maybe just pick up a book about it and read more about it. Because like if you are going to like pursue like a job or a career in that field, then you would definitely like need those skills. Like you can't like say that okay, like I don't know it but I still want to get a job in it. That doesn't work. uh, and yeah, and as such, like I haven't like worked in like machine learning or any of those fields. I have mainly worked in testing field. So and that's what like I have been like working since. Like I also worked in it during my masters as a project. That's how I got introduced to it. And then like I speak it as a as a person like who has uh, like uh, learned uh, like learned a lot about testing, like if you say like. And I think it can also be expanded to other like machine learning or like internet of things or any other field. Like if you want it, like you want to like you need to learn it and maybe do a project and show to like your like employer that I have like done this project like on this thing. And the job that I'm applying for is I'm the right person because I've done a project in it. And you can maybe show him a demo if he's like open to it, or maybe talk more about it like in an interview. Yeah, and show him like different like perspective, like your perspective on it. Like as for testing, I would say like people think of testing as like uh, a singular way. Like they like if you generally said testing, it's either unit testing or integration testing or end-to-end testing, but like there are more variants to it, and how, and also it depends upon like what service you're trying to test and how it functions, and also how it interacts with other services. Like there are a lot of things that come into play. So yeah, definitely you need to learn more about it and research on it and learn it and then apply for it. That's what I think.
Right. So,
That answer that.
so
Like I know it's vague, but yeah, what I feel.
right. So we are left with this three important questions by Dr. Varun Dutt. He asked these questions during registration. So see, like, well, Dr. Varun Dutt is faculty advisor, Alumni Association of IIT Mandi. And the first question which was asked, I'm so sorry, I just, yeah, so the first question was like, what are the different ways of engaging alumni with IIT Mandi? Now, see, like you three of them, like you're from, you can say a senior batch of class of 2014. Uh, what do you think? Like, what are the different ways you can actually engage alumni? You have your batchmates, and because the followed questions are just once you're engaging them, the reason is why are we engaging them? Like, what is the use of engaging alumni, right? So, like, can you three of you can you share like some ways where you can actually engage alumni of IIT Mandi? So Himanshu, like, we can start with you. Like, if you feel like why should I connect back? What is that actually? What factor will take you back to IIT Mandi?
See, I don't, to be honest, I don't need a reason. Okay. IIT is where, it wasn't just like, a place where I got a degree. For me, it's the place where I made lifelong friends. It's a place, which helped me reach where I am. I'm sure if I had been, I wouldn't have had the journey I would if I were not at Mandi. So uh, there is no particular reason that I need to obviously, have Mandi or IIT Mandi connect with me, and or vice versa. Um, there will always be a sense of belonging, in the and no matter how many degrees I may have or may not have, for me, the first degree that the first 4 formative years of my life, I spent at Mandi. So that's that. As for alumni engagement, I believe that's what you're asking, right? As to how do we
Yes.
increase alumni engagement?
Right. Exactly.
I okay. So say there are like a couple of things that I can think of top of my head. First is we need to tap into them at we shouldn't expect just because it's the placement time, you reach out to alumni. Okay. So a company, for example, like I sometimes go to Georgia Tech for hiring. So and I know for a fact that Google sends out contingents which include members from India as well as US, which go to other IITs. And I feel like those relationships are developed and cultivated over years. So only when we start building that relationship with the company is when we can tap into an alumni. Okay. And then secondly, I feel like we are still at a nascent stage of this whole thing, and there haven't been as much outreach from our college as I would like to see, or as I feel is possible. I think the students, like this session, for example, is the first one that we're having, and we should probably tap into, alumni base more often. And also, I think one last thing is that there should be some way that an alumni can give back to the college. I don't think there are any defined ways per se right now, or it's not concrete. Those are some things I think we should, like focus on, like having some concrete plans to recap it, and building a relationship with the employers and using the alumni to do that, not the vice versa, not expecting the alumni to just I mean, nobody listens. I'm just a cog in the wheel, right? So yeah.
Right. So, because this is followed by a second question, how could alumni become mentors to students, right? So now the thing is, one is like you're giving back to institutions. So giving back it is not in terms of only providing them placements, jobs, or doing fundraisers for the development of institution, but also how you can actually help students raise, right? So Anand, what is your take on this? Like if IIT Mandi is reaching out to you and asking you, can you be mentors for 20 students? So what will be your answer actually? Because that is how we have to build this alumni community of IIT, right?
Yeah,
Definitely.
so just to interrupt you, Gagan,
Yes, yes,
just to interrupt, the mentorship, as you rightly pointed out, is in a broader sense. And
right,
I'm really thankful to Anand, Moiz, and Himanshu to connect today because the kind of answers they've given are really mentoring answers. They've narrated their own experiences and connected the dots. And so,
exactly.
such kind of sessions, of course, are useful. But beyond that, there are so many ways in which we can connect and do many things. So, Anand, Moiz, and Himanshu, please go ahead. We'll look for your ideas.
Absolutely. I think like when Himanshu called me and he was like, we are planning this session. I was very interested. I think just seeing that view of Monday from your window was rewarding enough to do these kind of sessions again and again. And always happy to I mean look contribute to to IT Mandi. For me, I think it's a sole alma mater for me. So I think that's also a key thing. And yeah, I mean like if somebody needs some mentorship and looking for guidance or help, I think I mean I can definitely connect with, like, if we have a platform, that's better. If we do not have a platform, I think we all have Facebook accounts, so you can just message me and I can definitely provide some help there as well. So happy to connect.
Right. It's because
Just, just to mention, Gagan actually and Gagan's company is helping us with a platform. And now we have an alumni website. After this call, I'll definitely share again the email with all of our alumni, particularly in your batch and the founding batch of 2009. So we have a website, and this website allows you to actually interact with juniors and also with faculty. So just wanted to bring this up, and of course, go ahead, Gagan.
yes. So so we'll be talking about that career center development also on that same website, because there's a reason to have these sessions. You can see people asking questions about programming skills, how I can grow in career. There'll be many things, how you actually cope up with CGPA projects and all. There'll be many students. Today we have only few of them. Like there'll be many students, and how will you actually help them out is what mentoring program is, right? So Moise, what is your take on this? Like, what all other ways you can feel that you can actually mentor your students if somebody is coming under your suppose you're becoming a mentor for 10 students at IIT Mandi or 20 students. So what all ways you can actually mentor them? What all things on which you can actually guide them?
Uh, like I would say, like the first thing is that like it should be a question like directed to me. Like it should not be a general post in a group. So like that way it creates a bit of ambiguity, like who should answer it and who shouldn't, and like some like people would be like hesitant, like as such. Or yeah, so it should be like if a student knows a mentor like well enough, like to, or has followed his journey or has like attended a webinar to know about a mentor, so he can reach out to the mentor on your platform or on LinkedIn or Facebook, saying that okay, hey, hi, I have like attended your webinar and I have a follow-up question, so and so, and then I'll be like happy to like mentor him. And yeah, and it should be, I feel like it should be like relevant to the mentor, and if it's not relevant to me, I can guide him to like some other mentors that I know of, like who could be helpful. But then again, yeah, I depends upon like who I'm redirecting the student to, when if it's and how open his schedule is to answer to that student. Yeah, and yeah, so that's what I feel like.
Right.
To add to that, sometimes just let, I mean, if in case it's also hard sometimes to reply to Facebook messages. So, I'll be honest, and a lot of those go to unsend. And when you get hit up by somebody that you might not have met before. So I personally, if would suggest that if anybody wants to say reach out, has any questions, they should probably just drop a message on LinkedIn or some other network, which is not which will probably make sure. And I believe Moiz, Anand, all of us would be pretty responsive on LinkedIn because we do check those. So I think that's something that even I did as a when I was a student at Mandi. I would probably randomly message somebody who was in who I wanted to talk to on Facebook, and it's something that doesn't work often. So just a thing, if folks can reach out on LinkedIn and stuff. And I'm sure I have personally talked to a couple of folks who I had not met because I graduated before they came to college. So I would be happy to do that, and I'm sure so would Anand and Moiz be.
Right. So we are left with this one last question. So Varun sir, would you like to take this? How could we encourage alumni to contribute more to this institute? Right.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
engagement and contribution, of course, are synonymous words. But I guess we've got already ideas. I would like to press. Any of you may want to take it more, but I think they have given lots of. I've taken
Yes.
2-page notes on some of these brilliant ideas. One connected question I thought I may have. We have come up with this portal which allows people to connect. Do you think it is better to use Facebook, LinkedIn, which I guess our career placement cell does to connect with companies, but to connect with alumni? Do you think we should use these platforms over an exclusive portal? This is just an opinion I'm taking from you three. What do you think? Because you yourself said we pay more attention to LinkedIn and we are there on it. And that's not an additional login to another portal where we need to look at. So do you think that this might be of value, or taking your opinions?
I think for me, at least, I'll personally like to have, a separate portal, probably because, it keeps all those interactions at one place. Like Himanshu mentioned Facebook, definitely it gets mixed a lot with a bunch of other things. And LinkedIn, yeah, I am mm, not a very active user on LinkedIn right now because I don't know, probably should start doing it a little more, but my preference would be the portal first and then something else.
Okay, yeah. Among the other two alumni, Moiz, Himanshu, any opinions? Further opinions?
Yeah,
If you want to
like I would, yeah, like I would say, yeah, like first portal and second maybe LinkedIn and Facebook. I would say no for Facebook or any other platform. Yeah, yeah,
Right.
because like
Nothing against Facebook. Some 12 years back, I tried to delete my Facebook account, and I had to go through the pain of doing it. Pain. It's not easy to remove your Facebook account. They still haunt me on my email saying, "Would you like to join Facebook?" And so please, I can understand. But yeah, it's Facebook is like a cup of tea and coffee these days. People check their Facebook in the morning more than they check news. Yeah, but yeah, I can understand. Having a separate portal as gives exclusivity, and yeah, your opinions are all very valid, and I guess this is it. This helps to us to understand how we may be able to. So I just wanted to highlight that this is the first of its kind. Well, we are in an unlucky world right now with COVID-19, but luckily, the COVID-19 problem enabled us to do this webinar. And I feel that if we had not been in COVID-19 world, probably this may not be of priority. So what I was able to reach to three senior alumni of our institute who are the second batch after the 2009 batch. So I feel it's a wonderful opportunity to connect with all of you, and coming in the night in the US, I can understand, but thank you again. So Gagan, please take over. Thank you.
Right. So, like, just before, like, it was a wonderful session with the three of you. Like, you answered very well. It seems it is beneficial. So, students also will also provide the recording to you, Varun sir, so that people, those who were not able to join, you can actually share this recording with them. Right. And like, before we conclude this session, I would like Varun sir to give closing remarks, and then we'll move towards concluding this. Right. So, Varun sir, did we? It seems we lost him. Once you're here.
Hello. I dropped out for a bit. I'm
Okay.
back.
Right. Yes. So like, as we are moving towards concluding this session, we would like to invite you for closing remarks, and then we'll close this session for today.
Yeah, so first closing remark is I still see that there are some 19 people in the call more. Any other questions anyone has who would want to ask? Any last question? I see some of you are there.
I can quickly take a couple that I see, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So someone asked that does it help if you are for an international student to secure job in FANG companies? As to add to what Anand said, as a master student, as I said, it does help because you have the STEM OPT in the number of opportunities that you get, or you're eligible for, right? If I apply being in India directly for a position in US, that my chances are very slim. Okay. So as a master's student, it does help in the number of opportunities that you are eligible for because of OPT. Then there was someone who asked how certificate makes, if certificates matter. I'm assuming they are referring to certificates that you probably get like certifications from Microsoft and like other like Google Cloud and all. I honestly can't speak to that because I don't think they really matter as much, at least not the kind, not while they're filtering resumes at FANG companies. And then I believe you've already answered if CGPA matters. Oh, when you're applying for higher studies, yes, do not have a very low CGPA again. And if you do, for a, completely can happen to anyone, then I believe it might help if you can include some sort of reasoning as to why your GPA was low in your SOP.
So there's a question for Dr. Varun. There's a question from Illumina itself. He's Weber. He's asking, like, I'm an alumni, Dr. Varun, what is the best way for the alumni to contribute and engage in growth of institute and students? So he's asking what all ways he can actually engage and give back to institute.
Okay, so firstly, thank you for asking this question. So I would say imagination. It's not that alumni cell or institute is looking for monetary or financial contributions. Think of when you were in the second year or first year. Let's say first year is a little too junior, but second year, and you're trying to decide what to do. Are you maybe you have choices like write the administrative services exam, to go for a career in a private company, to go abroad for a master's degree, and there is a lot of confusion, even an MBA. So this is where I feel your experience can come in and helping mentoring students, guiding them that don't be in multiple boards, try to pursue something seriously, and that might help you succeed. The second thing is that the alumni are very, very important for the institute to grow further. So say if you happen to go anywhere, I'm often if you introduce yourself, you can always say I work at so and so place. But if you find that you spell out your undergrad college or institute, and there is another person happens to be from another IIT or from similar institute, there's immediate gelling. So this is not publicity, but it allows you to connect. and it might help the institute, because there is always this social engineering, which I call it positive externality. See, whenever I'm going for a presentation, I put IIT Mandi. After a few, some other person from an IIT will walk into me, and I'm talking about a presentation I'm giving in Pittsburgh, New York, or in any of these European countries. And then, so you get this gelling, which is very important, which helps you as well. Then I feel that beyond these mentoring students, there are ways in which you can help in curriculum development. We are always looking for people's feedback, particularly alumni feedback on our course curriculum. So every 3 to 4 years, institute curriculum needs to be revisited, both at the undergraduate and graduate levels. So this is another opportunity where we can connect with you. We can send some syllabi, or we can we can send you some course material, and you can give feedback in terms of, okay, this seems to be relevant. Like some of the experts in the call right now said, Gorman's book is great, and data structures course is essential, and then learn this and that. So what I'm saying is that this helps get feedback on what is valuable and what is maybe can be improved. Somebody also said, what I felt was that the social part, the humanities and social science courses, debating skills, public policy and advocacy skills, which are the group work which we did in courses, were very useful for us. So what it again tells us is that have courses where projects, groups, and things are important. So that's on the curriculum side of things. And of course, one other thing is we want to have you come in person sometime beyond the COVID-19 world and talk to the students, talk to the faculty, and also there are several, now we are creating opportunities for such kind of avenues. Like this year on the foundation day, we had an alumni young achiever award, and this was to we just started this year, and these are some of the new initiatives we are bringing in. I've also taken over recently, but idea is to encourage alumni, as I guess Himanshu or Anandamoy said, I'm looking for ways to come back to visit the campus again. So these are just some ways in which you can come back. To receive an award is a great way, but that's not the only way. You can come back as part of your company to give a talk, a workshop, to pick students, and a lot of other ways. So I feel it's your imagination how you want to contribute. And if you write to a faculty or to a student at least to a faculty on the campus, you will get a response, maybe a delayed response, but we always want to hear back from our students who have brought. Like Himanshu mentioned recently in one of I gave him a recommendation letter. This was way back 6 years back, but I'm very happy, and I still remember Himanshu doing the TA with Sukrit in 2014 or some year 2013, the software engineering course which we were teaching with Yvonne. These were again very cherished memories. So you kind of associate there. So these are some of the ways. I don't want to take too much time, but think of it, and everything I guess we can do. And I guess we need to do each of these things and focus on them to make our alumni connect with our institute.
It seems you answered Vaibhav's question, because he's saying like the chat is disabled, hence I'm having to post this as a question. Thanks, Varun sir. I'll connect with you offline to discuss this further. So,
okay.
Just one.
And we can do the recording. Say that again, Himanshu.
Just one more thing. A lot of things that you mentioned, for example, Varun sir, they're the first time, like, I feel like we are getting to know. And I feel as an alumni, for example, I never thought that we could have some sort of, like a suggestion or a say in the curriculum, for example. I'm just saying. So I believe among all the things that you said, that, for all the things, it might, we should probably, like, I feel like since we're just beginning, if all these ideas and, platforms that we have for communicating, between alumni and the institution are made more visible, are probably, then I think it would help,
Yeah, this is a very valuable suggestion, Himanshu. I really take it seriously. And so these are some of the ideas which I want to execute while I am as part of the alumni chair here. And of course, improve and let the things which, as you said, in the nascent stage, improve and become more stabilized. And the platform allows us to connect. But one thing is, if you have a suggestion in the course curriculum, even if you drop me an email, we make sure that that is seen by people who are making the curriculum, who are in charge. We do forward such kind of suggestions, and during the school meetings, institute meetings, senate meetings, we do discuss alumni suggestions wherever there are. So we do take your advice seriously. And see, I've taken 2 pages of notes in my notebook. I'm just showing you. So these are again ways in which and your suggestion on improving the connectivity and focusing on some of the things we're going to work on. We have a very skilled person in our team. Pavin is there. You may remember Pavin if you met with him. I guess he would have joined by then. But Pavin is a great person to have in my alumni team. But we want to also grow the team because Pavin is into so many different things. I guess Pavin is still in the call. Thanks to him for arranging this.
Hoping to see Pavin on the camera today. Anyway, I think we had very good relations with Pavin. I think we used to go on hikes and hang out a lot. So we'll probably
he still does this, and he's like always pushing. So it's very nice to have him in the team as well. So yeah, so thank you again. And just to conclude, I appreciate your time. I appreciate your comments. And again, I appreciate you connecting in the night. I know it's late in the night for you. It's almost close to 11. But have a good weekend and stay connected. And it's always good to see you, all 3 of you, and doing very well in your careers. And what it told me is today is, doesn't matter you're a mechanical, electrical, or computer science engineer. I guess the interdisciplinary training helps you get to where you want to be. So I think that's the motto we should take from this talk. And so thank you again.
Right. Thank you so much, Varun sir. Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Himanshu. Thank you, Moise, for your time. It was really a wonderful session. I would also like to thank Mr. Pavan. He helped me a lot. I'm in touch with him for past 1 month now. We were looking for alumni coming back, giving sessions, and it seems we have started now. Looking for a good alumni engagement at IIT Mandi. Thank you all participants for joining today's session. Just one announcement, you will be redirecting to one feedback form post this session. Please do help us improve we are signing off for this session. Thank you so much. Thank you, Anand. Thank you, Himanshu. Thank you, Moise. Thank you, Varun sir. Right. All right. Bye-bye. And good night for you. Thank you for joining us. Right.